I'll just call you by your Mr., but I won't, Danny. Okay, look your minutes over. I'm sure you have, and if you can find anything that you feel should be corrected or been left out, feel free to bring that to our attention. Everybody satisfied? All those in favor? All those opposed? Ayes have it. So we'll move on to our informational items for the year 2024. And we have Mr. Johnson from our sanitary district. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Mr. Chairman, and to everybody else. So in your packet here, you've got the November minutes. November is a housekeeping month for us. So you see a lot of project closeouts and just a lot of miscellaneous items as we gear up for calendar year 24. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian. Moving on to the next one, we will have our facilities master plan, and we will have these presented to us. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Update you on some of our active projects. We'll start with the jail. The roof replacement continues to progress at the jail. The last update we received, which was a few weeks before Christmas, was they had added some additional staffing out there to move that on a little quicker. So Calvin will be probably going out there this week to get an update on where they're at. On the jail ring road, we met with Midwest Engineering a couple weeks before Christmas to talk about that bid going out. They are currently working with Jim Smith and purchasing to get ready and release that bid, and it should be in the next couple weeks that bid will head out. I did put some updates on some potential dates. If that can move along, we would bring it back to committee in February. That seems a little quick, but we'll see how that moves along. Brick tuck pointing, we finished the phase 1 this year, and we will issue the phase 2 PO a little later this winter for the next steps on that based upon the money that was budgeted in this year's budget. JDC, the sprinkler head replacement was approved at the last board meeting, and a PO was issued from county purchasing to PIPCO for that project. Roof replacement at the JDC, still a work in progress, just like the jail. And the parking lot repair at the JDC, that will go out for bid along with the Ring Road Phase 1 project. So that'll go out as part of that bundle. Roof replacement here at the courthouse. We actually did a walkthrough a couple weeks ago of the roof. The roof above us here is actually both sides is complete. The new roofing material is on. Majority of the trim work here is done, the metal work. There's still a little bit of work that has to be done. We've been waiting on metal trim work over on the Hamilton side, and if you were down here this morning, the crane was here and all that metal work had arrived, so they're working on that. Metal work on that will start this week. So this one's fairly close. That one's got a little bit to go, but like I said, the new roof is on. The circuit clerk treasurer's office, the order of protection, the county highway, I will let Scott update you on those projects, since he is more directly involved in those than I am.
Mark, when you say about the tuck pointing now, will you play it by ear or will it be put off till next spring?
It'll start in the spring once weather. Yeah, we already awarded the bids for that, and there was money allocated in the capital budget for this year. We'll issue the PO for the phase 2, and then once the weather improves, then they'll get that started.
Anyone else with questions for Mark?
Yeah. Mark, in questions to the tuck pointing and repair, is that normally done before the roof replacement, or does it matter when or what?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
On that project. They both have been going at the same time. In the fall they were, so.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't heard if they've started yet. I know that they
Yeah,
were,
I know we issued the purchase order before the end of the year. Whether they've started or not is probably a function of whether or not they had to order the sprinkler heads,
Right.
or if they had them in stock. I don't know if they had them in stock or if they had to order them and we're waiting for those to come in. But at
we
least,
get Calvin to follow up on that.
yeah, but at least we have the purchase order, so they had the clearance to go ahead and order them if they needed to. So we'll have Calvin follow up to see, and we'll put something in the update at the end of this week.
Anyone else with questions? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Our third item on our informational items has to do with the motor fuel tax documentation, and I don't know whether, okay, Jeff, I didn't look at who was sitting in the
I stuck
chair.
up there. I stuck up here, Mr. Chairman. Every year, IDOT reviews our county motor fuel tax funds, our township motor fuel tax funds, and the township bridge program funds. This fall, they were in the office and they reviewed all three funds for the year 2022. So that goes from January 1st of 2022 to December 31st of 2022. They found us in compliance with everything, and they just request that we submit this to the committee and then have it filed in the clerk's office.
Any questions for Jeff? Happy New Year to you also, Jeff.
Thank you.
And our next item, the Old Galena Road project completion. And Amy's going to do this for us, and we wish Amy and everybody at your department out there Happy New Year as well, Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy New Year to you as well. We're going to show a quick video, and as Scott's queuing it up, we wanted to thank this board and this committee and subsequent previous boards and committees that helped us get to this point. The Galena Road Corridor is a big project for us. We're very proud of it. I do want to give a special shout out to Jeff Gillis, because he's been working behind the scenes on this for many, many years to keep it going forward. So real proud of what the department has accomplished to get this to this point. What you're about to see is from help from the communications team and the IT's GIS team. So we want to make sure they're recognized for this. Want to show you what we put together. We've got some drone footage, and we'd like to show it to you.
Amy, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not an engineer, but it seems like when I have been traveling and I'll see these roundabouts, oftentimes they're on the outskirts of a big city and so forth. I don't necessarily see them when I go into a big city like Kansas City, Missouri, or someplace like that, Des Moines. And I would count the one that we have here as kind of a rural area. Are they more useful in a rural area than actually in a big city?
They can be used in various locations. One of the reasons we used it here is because of the 3 legs coming in. It was kind of unusual. And if you remember how it was configured previously, it was kind of unusual situation, and some of the legs had higher traffic volumes than the other legs. So this kind of helped disperse that traffic through there. So that's why we chose it here. But they can be used in various situations. There's a rural, urban one down here by the hospitals, and we have another one out in the Radnor Road, Alta area as well too. So there's a couple in our area.
I know right down here in Washington we got one, and like you said out there, those are city ones, so yeah, we don't deal with those. But I wondered if they were better in a kind of the rural aspect than right here in the city.
They can be used in various applications. They're for safety. The accidents that do happen at roundabouts are less severe than those that happen at traditional 4-way stop type of intersections because of the angle that the cars are traveling at.
Thank you. Anybody else with a question for Amy? Jimmy?
Thank you, Chairman. I know I've said it before, but big thank you to Amy, Jeff, and their team. I remember sitting in a meeting where this is one of, mind you, this is considered one of the largest office buildings under a single roof anywhere in the country out there, and quite a bit of travel. And this road had huge potholes in it and was in disrepair, trying to figure out a way to pay for it. And it was a pretty daunting task to try to figure it out to get there. But the county, as usual, took on the task, and Amy and Jeff did it. And I know there's been a lot of pleasure for the school. I mean, the soccer games that are out there, this is actually a very high traffic area. So kudos to you and your team for accomplishing it and bringing it in for way under the estimates. I think we were even talking about in 2008 of what it would cost to do that. And, you know, if you haven't driven it, I would drive it. That's an all concrete road. The infrastructure is incredible. So that is a top-notch road that should last a long time and help hopefully make it safe for that school and secure those jobs that are out there. So when people are traveling all across the country to go look at the things that are being developed out there, they see a nice road. So thank you to you and your team and everybody that did that.
Okay, thank you, Jim, for those comments. Any other comments or questions? All right, moving on to our first and only resolution. Oh, I'm sorry, Terry.
I just want to mention a quick thing. This is kudos to Amy. With as many things that she has going on at any one point in time, I got a couple of calls from her during the course of that construction. That's my district, and so there was a couple of times when there was some delays and things that would affect the overall schedule of the project. She called to make sure I knew about it so that if I were approached in my district, which I do from time to time, I mean, it wasn't like we were getting constant phone calls on that subject, but people at the school, they thought maybe it was going to be done before school, and it didn't work out that way. School got back in session in September, August, and it went a few weeks past that. it went from being one of the worst roads in Peoria County to one of the best, or the best. And I just really appreciate that little detail that you thought to call the county board member whose responsibility that area can be, or is, and makes my job a lot easier. So I really appreciate your doing that. That's above and beyond in my book, but you make it look easy. Thanks.
Terry, thanks for pointing that out, because we need good people like Amy and her staff, and we want to continue to keep that staff. Thank you. All right, we have one and only one resolution, and it's got to do with the change order on our Health and Human Services Center that we are going to try and get finished this year, 2024. And I'll let Terry make the motion on that, and since he's heavily involved, and Sharon, who preceded a lot of work on this. And we'll put it on the floor from these two people, and I don't know who's going to start first or who wants to comment.
Mr. Chairman, I'll summarize, and then I'll let Member Ruland come on in at the end to give his thoughts on the journey he and I have been on in the last couple of weeks. So pursuant to the board's rules of order, whenever there's a change order for the Health and Human Services project that's somewhere between $50,000 and $200,000, it requires committee approval of both this committee and the County Health Committee, which meets tomorrow. Change order number 7 is before you today. It has a value of $116,805 that will be paid for from project contingencies. It does not alter or change the guaranteed maximum price or the total project budget. Under the rules, both committees will have to approve it so that I can sign the change order. This specific change order makes an upgrade to the electrical design for the HVAC system. So, and to put into layman's terms, as it's written in the agenda briefing, throughout the building we have something that's called a variable air volume box, and we have multiples of those. That is an HVAC device that basically either heats or chills air across coils so that the space it's either heating or cooling can do that. The original design had those VAVs, which have a motorized damper and valves that open and close so that that amount of either hot water or chilled water can pass through it. The original design had those on 110 volt service, and also had them tied in with other electrical receptacles, or what we would refer to as outlets. So conceivably, in some cases in the building, you could have multiple things plugged into an outlet that would be on the same circuit as a VAV. If that circuit breaker trips, not only does whatever's plugged into the outlet lose power, but then so does the VAV, which means we lose either heating or cooling depending on the season for that space. What should have been done and what this change order will do is first ensure that every VAV in the building will be on its own dedicated circuit, and that circuit will be at 480 volt service, and so that is the cost of the $116,805 is for parts and labor, or materials and labor to make that change. When we learned of this, this was pretty sizable change order for us, and I'll let Member Rulon kind of give his thoughts on our reaction. But what we were able to do, because we thought that this was a pretty sizable change order, is we went to our architect, the Farnsworth Group, and entered into a negotiation with them as it relates to errors and omissions. We were able to negotiate 30% of the value of that change order, plus an additional $5,000 to total $41,000 as a discount to the change order. So the full change order, what you're voting on today is the full change order. That $41,000 discount will be reflected in a credit to, or in our contract with Farnsworth Group, which is part of the overall project budget, but is not part of the guaranteed maximum price because it's not construction dollars, it's architectural dollars. Operationally, these are things that, these are items or a design that should have been in the original bid package but was not. And so, I think from our perspective, there's a thought that we're able to get what we should have had at somewhat of a discount, which I think can be a positive for us. Also, approving this change order does ensure that the project remains on schedule. And at this point, as the chairman alluded to, providing a normal construction winter, we should be in the building by the end of the year. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ruland so that he can provide his insight on the process and the item.
I think it's fairly obvious $116,000 is a lot of money. The timing of this, though, happened to come along at an advantageous point for us because we'd been presented with a number of smaller change orders, and it was becoming somewhat exasperating to hear that they missed relocation of a sewer line that was on the original sanitary district drawings. They had missed the indication of an underground storage tank that was on a previous version of building drawings from down there. And so when this one came along, we were already starting to feel a little bit pressured on change orders that we did not ask for or generate. They were clearly oversights. And so when this one came along, it was met with substantial resistance, primarily by Scott and I, and it sparked the conversation. What about this and these other things? It caused River City to go back and review their process. They felt as though they had an opportunity relative to the underground storage tank. They could have discovered it and alerted us to that prior to construction, and they considered that an oversight on their part. This one, however, was pretty basic. If you're an electrical engineer or an electrician doing this type of work, everybody who looked at it in the bid process pointed out this should never have been spec'd this way. Our electricians on the project are the ones that discovered it. So when we had that heart-to-heart with Farnsworth, they admitted it was time for them to go back and look at their internal processes a little bit. The stirring up of the previous change order regarding the underground storage tank and the sewer lines that needed to be relocated, that convinced them that they needed to be a part of that as well. So what started out as, I believe, a $20,000 offer that would be their contribution to the errors and omissions ended up at $41,000. Now, the understanding needs to be universal that had we bid this at 480 volt system as it should have been from the start, we would have likely paid substantially more for the project. And so the value of this change order is there. This is not something that we would have avoided cost, but it is something that we lost the opportunity to competitively bid it once the water was under the bridge. Now we were at the mercy of the electrician to do it at a fair price, a competitive price, even though they didn't have a competitor after the contract was signed. So to conclude the conversation here, I think Farnsworth Group stepped up very well, very responsibly. The beginning of the negotiation was maybe a little bit less pleasant than the tail end of it, but in the end, we have a good working relationship. You worry about these kind of things early in a project because you think, well, this is going to be difficult or awkward moving forward. We're going to have to figure out how they're going to find a way to make their $40,000. There is nothing in this process that has given us cause for concern. They handled it in a very professional way, and I think we've got a very suitable end result. So you're being asked to approve a $116,000 change order. The effective cost of that is really about $75,000 after you deduct the 41. Actually, it's about $70,000 when you deduct the $41,000 credit on the Farnsworth contract and an additional $5,000 that we got from River City. So I completely support passing this. It is where we should have been from the beginning. And so I think Scott and I both feel real good about it, and I highly recommend that we just move forward and keep this project on track. I'll be happy to take a shot at it.
Matt?
How much have we expected throughout the whole project to be, I know we expected some, but how much on the whole project for change orders?
The original contingency was upwards of about $800,000. The change orders that we signed so far, except for I think one that was our doing, those change orders are counted against a built-in contingency that is part of the GMP. So we're not going to see the project increase, but those dollars in the contingency are returnable to the county if they're not spent. So this is real money. It is decreases the amount that would be returned to the county at the end of the project. We don't want to take it lightly that, it's from a contingency, just go ahead, you know. There needs to be a solid explanation for every nickel spent. This is a solid explanation, I think, and to find an architect of this size and stature that will, come to the table and negotiate in good faith to get this resolved as quickly as they did. I think it's a really positive result. And as far as how much of that, I think it's in our resolution here, if I'm not mistaken. We have $416,000 remaining in contingencies. And as these kinds of projects go, the early going is where you find the worst of it. So we've spent less than half of that contingency, but we feel very strongly, and I think contractors and the architects would agree with this, I think Scott would back me up on that as we move forward, most of the discoveries that are going to be made about any errors and omissions are happening through RFPs and processes that are designed to discover it early in the process. So I really think we will have a returnable amount of some size in our contingency. I'm not here to promise that, but based on the fact that we've discovered at this point, when you dig a hole in the ground, you can't see under it. when we found the storage tank, when we found this problem, everybody gets a little more comfortable thinking that the worst is over. And I think it probably is. This is a fixed price bid. There's no reason to think that unless we change something now, we have enough contingency in there to cover it to the point that we'll see some returns at the end.
I guess that's what I meant on it, like, we don't see it every day, but it seems like to me there's already been like, you know, a lot now, but if that's a comfortable point to be within, it starts getting to 400,000, then I think I'm gonna sit here and be like, no way, and then not wanna hear complaints on how to put the roof on, you know?
No, those are the things that are in the bid that are in the bid correctly, the roof and so forth, and the furniture and the floor coverings and lighting fixtures, all those details are clearly spec'd what they are and what they, you know, and when individual contractors get a hold of that and start reviewing it in order to place orders or to calculate electrical loads like this one that was generated when they decided how much power does the building need, that's when they discovered this. Those things typically happens early in the process. So if we have, I'm going to guess at this point, 150 requests for more information from the architects and from the general, that has diminished from a huge number down to where we review 1 or 2 a week, if that, and they're usually lingering items that didn't get resolved the week before. So if they're done asking questions, we can count on a much reduced amount of changes or requirement of anything to change, based on the fact that there's not much left to figure out.
Any other questions, comments? I'll certainly be supporting this when Scott talked to me about it, and Terry explained to us right here, and the fact that we in Farnsworth are still speaking, because I've been on some projects, and I'm sure that anybody that worked construction has found out that, you know, the people that you depend upon to do the right thing for you, and then they've made a mistake, and you call hold on it and so forth. It causes some tempers to flare and so forth, and the fact that you were able to get them to agree to somewhat of a compromise on this, as well as still speaking on friendly terms. I think that's really a good thing.
Just want to thank Administrator Sorrell and Member Rulon for all their time and effort into this. I know it's been time consuming and probably a little daunting lately, just alone trying to go to the weekly meetings and keep on track of that and dealing with this. But the level of professionalism displayed by both of you throughout the whole thing is second to none and well appreciated, because sometimes people can get a little frustrated in the process and cooler heads don't always prevail. But from talking to both of you, you always had a plan, and it was well reasoned and well presented and articulate. So I couldn't ask for better people representing the county in this scenario, so much appreciated.
Being no other questions, I'll call for the vote on this resolution to have this change order. And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Being no nays, then this recommendation from our committee is a yes. I don't know, let's see, public comment. I don't see any public comment for us, so we'll move on to miscellaneous. Anybody with miscellaneous? I know we're coming to a new year, and the chairman, Mr. Dillon, has the prerogative to replace board members on a committee, and he also has a chance to, of course, remove the chairman of the board. Whether he wants to remove the chairman of the board would be up to him, and probably there's a few complaints from committee members about this, because I know there are some committee members here who are far more knowledgeable than I am. But anyway, I enjoy working with this group that we have on this committee. I think it's one of the best committees, and people can really learn a lot by listening to people who are actually in the infrastructure business. And I enjoy working with you. Anything else under miscellaneous? What?
Back at you. You do a good job. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more for us to do in this committee, then this meeting is adjourned.